What screams I lost the argument? Trying to focus on side points of yours that don't really have anything to do with the main point as a means of diversion. Or when they successfully rebut one of your supporting arguments, for example a bad analogy, and treat it as a total victory, even though they still haven't addressed your core argument. Arguing semantics are the most indicative sign that they're losing the argument and just don't like being wrong. Those same people never answer the questions they know prove they have flawed logic, so they instead try to pick apart things you say in order to deflect the attention to something else besides their pending response. When they start responding with "who asked," even though they started it. No one asked for your opinion. I teach primary grades. It's unbelievable how some people don't upgrade their arguing skills beyond first grade. I see this all the time. When they go completely off topic. Well, I don't like your username. So if you have a dog that is used to herd sheep, it's called a sheepdog. What do you call a dog who protects a cornfield? A corn dog? Get the fuck out of here. I guess I'm just a terrible mother. Are you quoting my mum? I carried you for 9 months and you dare talk to me like that? When they just start yelling shit like "look at you. You know so much. Smart ass bitch. You know this is why your ex cheated. You're insufferable." And loudly banging things, stomping, etc. I think you should stay away from that person. Oddly specific. Are you okay? When personal attacking starts. Enjoy your ban. Yeah, I remember arguing with my friend's girlfriend. She said, "Why are you so passive-aggressive?" I said, "I am not being passive in telling you directly that you are wrong. We don't get along very well." Whatever, you're salty. Pretty much any reference to salt, yes. If your only rebuttal is "oh yeah," well, you're a crybaby, you've already lost the argument. Salt, definitely. Whatever is also often a realization that you're arguing with a brick wall. I have a right to my opinion. Of course you do, and usually at this point in the argument no one has said otherwise, but that doesn't mean your opinion is supported by evidence. Similarly, people tend to confuse being legally in the clear with being justified more broadly. I remember arguing with a friend that a particular movement was stupid, and he replied, "Well, the same right that allows you to criticize them allows them to do it." And it's like, yeah, of course they have the right to do it. That doesn't make it a smart thing to do. Or when somebody says they have a right to an opinion but it turns out their opinion is really a fact that is not true. Edit, I have already clarified below that I typed this out quickly and immediately realized it wasn't a good way to say what I meant. But I specifically mean people who hide behind "well, that's just my opinion" when spreading objectively and verifiably false information. My point seems to have been sufficiently conveyed for most people who understand what I was going for here. I have a right to my opinion. Of course you do, and usually at this point in the argument no one has said otherwise, but that doesn't mean your opinion is supported by evidence. That's when you hit them with this bad boy. Anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Isaac Asimov. When the ad hominem attacks begin, nothing says I'm out of reasonable options better than attacking somebody for their profile picture lol. Hippie. I see you made a typo right there in your comment. Would be a shame if your entire argument was worth nothing and could be ignored as a result of it. Whatever, I don't really care anyway. I sometimes throw that sentiment in even if I win the argument just to make it clear that it's just petty discussion. Skeptical, I use this because half the time I didn't really care what they thought, I just had my own opinion. If I didn't start the argument and didn't want an argument, it's annoying being dragged into one. Moving the goalposts and whataboutisms when someone has to try and change what an argument is about to defend it, they more often than not have lost that argument. The most annoying is nihilism. Yeah, well, like, morality is made up and we all die eventually, so. Yeah, we get it, you're very smart. Now rejoin the fucking conversation like an adult. Bringing up old arguments that have nothing to do with the current one. Lol edit, lady here. Understand that they're people, of all genders, who don't know how to have a calm, productive discussion that remains on topic. Even if you disagree, just give the person time to say their piece and afterwards both of you can come to a resolution that is on topic. Forgive people because that is something that you would want from someone else. Don't keep a scoreboard of rights and wrongs. I got into a very long argument with my boss/brother before we parted ways. I brought up things from 5 years ago, but all regarding the job and issues that were building. He brought up some of the same, but also one personal thing about his wife and I that literally had nothing to do about what was going on. It's when I knew he was grasping at straw and that I was in the right the time. My toxic and abusive father did this my entire childhood. Also swaying to I'm not a bad father, remember when I brought you out to X when you were 4? Like, what the fuck? Directing towards some other topic. When someone points out that you ate the last sausage and they know because there's half a sausage sticking out of your mouth you've given up the game by saying, yeah, well what about the time you ate all the corn chips? Separate argument, my dude. But at a certain point, it's gotta be relevant. Like, if a family member keeps eating basically all of the food in parties, then one time you eat one donut too much in another party, and he berates you, you gotta fucking point out that he keeps eating way too much food in other parties and has no reason to be complaining about you. Ah yes, deflection. Was hoping someone would say this. I have a friend on Facebook whom I don't see eye to eye on regarding politics. He'll post a meme, I'll say something about it, and if he doesn't have a comeback for my comment he'll deflect to yeah but what about? I usually just respond with something like that's not what the meme is about, please stay in the lane here. Whatever Lamau, unamused face. I know some people who literally can't be argued with as they just don't have common sense. If it's an argument that just doesn't matter and I don't feel like spending half an hour on the subject, then sure, agree to disagree. You might lose the argument but that doesn't prove you wrong. And that goes for plenty of other comments here. Make a judgment for every situation. If it's not worth the time or verbal fight, just concede. That's what I usually do. Google is free hun, nail polish. I usually get into online arguments with people in video games where nobody knows what I look like IRL. Usually, they'll resort to calling a kid or a 9-year-old or whatever when I disagree with them. For such an unoriginal comeback, they've already lost. So your argument is so terrible a 9-year-old can see what's wrong with it. I'm all for being the better person and seeing the good in people, but if they're unwilling to listen it's not worth the effort explaining. I encounter this on Reddit a lot. When they start making unfounded assumptions about you or start spouting off their credentials, it means they really don't want to continue the actual argument. More generally, I would say anytime the other person actively avoids the substance of the argument, then they know they have lost on some level. Writing off reliable sources of information that they don't like. I pulled out Merriam-Webster dictionary in my argument and apparently that's not a valid source for the definition of the word. When they start the enjoy your negative downvotes logic. Alternately, bring on the downvotes. It annoys me because that implies being downvoted means you were wrong, even though people already tend to downvote already downvoted comments, so it's easy for someone to just use multiple accounts early and fuck up your comments karma, thus swaying people's perception. When the insults start appearing. Not true. I can call you a dumbass and also provide valid points in the argument. I don't agree with this. Being right on a given topic has nothing to do with morality, etc. You can be right and still be an asshole too. When they start saying inaccurate stuff. You can't win against wrong. You can, with a fact check, if it's a good faith mistake. Usually it's when the wrong sources come out I get leery. Who screams while speaking? I see what you're saying, But personally I have a bad habit of doing this from the start, not necessarily if I start losing. Agree with this one. Speaking loudly, shouting doesn't make the point more valid. An idiot who screams during arguments is still an idiot. A refusal to answer direct questions that are clearly designed to demonstrate the flaw in your reasoning. The only reason you have to refuse to answer a question is if you know that the answer is going to lead you to admit that you're wrong. And if you can't admit that you're wrong, then you're no longer interested in meaningful discussion. Of course, online, if someone admits being wrong, it's like finding a two-headed albino unicorn plumber, which technically might be a bicorn then, but okay. This is when you get hit with "that's so ridiculous that I'm not even going to justify it" with an answer, or the person will just answer in bad faith because they know they're wrong but they've already committed too deeply. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.